Hi there. This is Jim with the Keys Bartender Podcast. If you're not familiar with the show, the Keys Bartender Podcast is a show about Keys life, bartending, and life in general. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm pointing out it's just beautiful. It looks kind of like this, except it's a little brighter right now. And uh, I like using this as a background because this is traditional tiki hut that you see here. And they're up until, I don't know if the rules are the same now, but the Miccosukee tribe down here, the local Indian tribe, they were licensed to be the only people that could legally construct this structure right here. Let me see if I point right here. So these are palm fronds, and they're treated with a chemical to make them more fire retardant, to make them more inflammable instead of flammable. Okay, inflammable versus flammable. So they come in, these guys that construct it, they come in here and they put them together. And I think now they license it so other people can do them also. I'm not exactly sure, but we're probably going to do an episode on that, on how they constructed a proper tiki hut on one of my other shows, the Conch Chatter podcast. But they're it's made with locally produced fronds, and they hold up really well. I mean, we've had hurricanes come through, and I've seen tiki huts just standing there fine, and then they come in and just thatch the roof again. Well, we are in the midst of busy tourist season, and with that, when I'm bartending, I always get the question is, first of all, how long have you been here? And I'll say, 16 years. And they go, oh boy, is it wonderful. And that question throws me back to think, wow, I guess I'm supposed to feel wonderful all the time. But then again, in paradise, and they call it paradise, but there's a lot of places around the world you can call paradise. There's Hawaii, there's Bali, there's the Bahamas, there's Bermuda, there's all sorts of places, Costa Rica, some beautiful places out there. And we call this place paradise, but paradise has its drawbacks, right? And that's life. That's life is the drawbacks, meaning you have to be concerned with relationships, finances, your work, your internal well-being. And I'm going to talk about that briefly. I always say every so often, when you're living in a place like this, you don't want to be talking to someone that's not uh, from around here. If they just come down to visit, when you're in a depressed mood, if you're looking for some alleviation of your depression, it's hard to talk to people that say, how can you be depressed? It's so beautiful around here. Well, people live down here know that you can be depressed anywhere. And if you look at some of the surveys, when we talk about the happiest countries in the world, some of the happiest countries in the world are places you think that wouldn't, or some of the poorer countries in the world, and also some of the coldest countries in the world. So, having nice weather and beautiful surroundings in a tropical setting does not automatically alleviate depression and anxiety. And this past Thursday, I came up with some unexplained bout. I was feeling, part of it for me is when I get lack of sleep, when I manufacture some kind of stress. Yeah, I'm saying I manufacture it because stress is all in the head. There could be legitimate things causing stress, but the way we experience it is how stress is something we incorporate in our body. And then some people aren't stressed when they're standing at the top of a tower and looking over 800 feet of open space, and other people are highly stressed. That's all according to the way your mind is wired. So this Thursday, for about 6-7 hours, I was feeling, and I'm going to put a lid on it. I know I did, but I thought, wow, I haven't been sleeping well. I haven't been eating well. I haven't been exercising. That's part of my routine of wellness. I haven't really meditated or done anything. And I was feeling like a general depression. It was a darkness, and it was not that particularly bad day weather-wise. It's just the way you feel. And it's hard to explain to people, isn't it? I guess I think most people go through it. They just don't recognize it. They just think they're in a bad mood. And some people go through it a lot deeper and a lot longer. I understand that. But the important thing down here is to seek some kind of alleviation. Alleviation, I don't even know if that's a word, but you're looking to alleviate depression. You have to do something about it. You have to go and reach out to someone, maybe talk to someone who's reasonable, will help you, or do things that will aid you in getting better. Maybe taking a nap, meditating, eating something healthy, working out. It's hard to really, in the midst of the depression, it's hard to be motivated sometimes. And doing those things seem extra hard. But once you realize that once you start doing those things, you can change that attitude. And I strongly promote people, and I urge them that if you do have those feelings, you should seek help. And there's a lot of resources out there for it now. And right now, I think last week, the U.S. Department of Veteran Services, Department of Veteran Affairs, they're now going to allow help. They're going to give help to veterans that have have signs of depression and they're in danger of committing suicide, because there's a bunch of our servicemen or retired servicemen are taking their own lives instead of getting help, and sometimes they don't feel like they can afford it, or help is there for them. So, but it's also, it happens to a lot of other people that aren't veterans. So if you feel guilty that you're living in paradise and your life is going well and you have a wonderful relationship and you have a wonderful house and you have all these things going for you, and you're told, what do you have to be depressed about? You don't have to answer. You don't have to say what you have to be depressed about. Why are you depressed, and what can we do to make you feel better? That's one of the main things. After I finish talking about this next thing, I want to talk about how to make a good frozen drink in general, not one in particular. I may be using the margarita as an example. And a lot of people may be saying, hey, Jim, why don't you use a video to show them how to do this? But, a lot of times people try to match what you do on video. And I have a tendency to want to explain to them so they can know, they have the knowledge to do it without having to do it. Because when I'm pouring in a liquid or something like that, you have no idea what that is. So I can tell you how to make it. So we'll do that at the end. Also, it's January. We're in mid-January. I spoke about last week about people doing dry January, but a lot of things, you have a new year, and a lot of people, they reevaluate their lives, and they reevaluate. And what's a big thing in people's lives? Relationships. And I don't know the exact statistics for divorce. Actually, divorce has fallen in recent years because, well, first of all, people aren't getting married as often, I think, but also they're taking a little more deeper look into their relationships. But when it comes to these people, if you find yourself serially leaving one relationship, going to another, and hoping to change the pattern, your history of relationships, maybe if you're in a relationship and it's going well, and one of the main things that people complain about is boredom, right? Boredom, a generalized malaise, ennui. They want something exciting. And that's the thing about a new relationship. It's exciting. It's new. It sounds like the beginning of the Love Boat thing. Come aboard. We're expecting you. That was this theme to Love Boat. But yeah, a relationship's exciting. It's new. One of the things about that, though, and people have a tendency to overlook it, is that the reason why some people are so attracted to a new relationship is people don't notice shit that you're up to. or the things you're capable of, or your bad habits, or the way you clean your house, the way you keep your, uh, the way you groom, the way you eat, the way you deal with traffic, the way you go shopping. Like guy, in a new, I'm gonna focus in the beginning with guys go with women, men and women, from the man's perspective, but it could be very easily from the woman's perspective, but I can't speak from the woman's perspective exactly, but then as a general human being. So when I'm talking about a man, talking about a woman, just think it's just the guy, he's getting, let's say they've been in a relationship for about a year, and the woman's already knows all the things, the downsides about the guy. In the beginning of a relationship, though, think about it. You're on your best behavior. You show up early. You're dressed well. You're groomed well. You perhaps you go to a place you normally don't go to. Normally, you're a fast food person. You might go to Ruby Tuesdays if Ruby Tuesdays is still around, right? Or if you go to Ruby Tuesdays, you may go to a Smith and Wollensky steakhouse. But that's not one of those things. You may buy, in the beginning of a relationship, you may buy flowers. You may do things like getting up and opening the door, pulling out a chair for someone. Or some people, you say, you may not wear your hoodie when you go out. You may put on a real shirt with a collar, right? You take off your hat when you're eating. Now, all these things may go out the window after you're in a relationship for a while. The jig is up. They're going to know that you don't clean your toilet ever, eventually. I mean, if you did it in the beginning, there's some people that are very bold and they don't do anything and say, well, this is me, like it or love me, like it or leave it, like it or love me. Well, that gets it. Love me or leave me. That's it. That's a interesting way to go, because you're trying to attract someone in the beginning and hope that some of your badder habits, your habits that you think are slovenly, maybe not too attractive, you're hoping that the other stronger points of stronger qualities of yourself will shine through. Your good sense of humor will overshadow your impatience. Your understanding will overshadow your anger at being stuck in a traffic jam. Your all these things that make up a regular human being. We have positives and we have negatives, and hopefully we're working on some of those negatives if they're real true negative. Because I don't necessarily think just because you walk in the door and you leave your shoes on doesn't make you a horrible person. But you don't necessarily have to throw your clothes on the floor, right? You don't need a big pile of clothes. But some people do that. And that doesn't make you the most horrible person either in the world. Some people, when they do their laundry, they say, well, this is the clean pile of laundry and this is the dirty pile of laundry. Which, you know what? They make hampers for that. You take it and you put the clothes in the hamper, and then you take it, you put it do the wash, and then you take it out of the wash, and then you put it on the floor with your clean clothes. Or what a lot of people do is they fold it and they put it away. I had a tendency, guys have a tendency to do that. There's a lot of things when we're by ourselves, when we're not under the scrutiny of the fairer sex. Some of us men are a lot cruder than they let it be known to their prospective paramour. They try to sugarcoat it. Like, you might be one of those guys, after drinking like a couple beers and eating some chips and some wings and stuff like that, you may fart a lot. And, you and your friends may joke over that stuff, but, not necessarily the best thing to do in a relationship. But eventually a guy that does that will eventually fart in front of his significant other. And I guess that's the thing where the mystery is gone. Once the mystery is gone, there's tons of things that I'm sure women do among their friends that they don't necessarily do in front of their male romantic uh, goals, whatever they're trying to seek out of seeking out a relationship. They're not going to do the things they normally do that guys don't see. And that relationship, after a year, you're going to see it. You're going to eventually see it, and then it wears off that shine of a new relationship. That person doesn't know you. You don't know them. You just see that side that they're presenting to you. And the longer you go out, the more those things you tried to hide pop out. And they say, oh, that's the real you. That the real you that forgets anniversaries. The real you that doesn't necessarily shut the door when you walk in. The real you that leaves leave dirty dishes in the sink. The one that drinks out of the orange juice carton. All those things. And so when you're competing, and I say competing, when you have an established relationship, and then there's a new one, life is going along okay. You're a little bored. You need a little challenge. You're feeling a little bad about yourself. And then you have this other person that doesn't even know you. They don't know you as well as your girlfriend knows you, but they look at you and they think you're hot. They think you're funny. They think you're cool. You think you're all those things that your girlfriend might still think, but she also knows those other things, which this person doesn't know. And you're attracted to this person's view of you. When they see the knight in shining armor, and when the armor on your girlfriend sees is kind of dingy, and you might have, streaks, skid marks in your underwear, they don't see it. They don't know it. And that's the big difference. It's all new. It's all upside for them. And you tell them all the upside. You say, well, they don't understand me. This is an illusion. It's not a relationship. It's a new relationship. And a new relationship is fun. Just like a brand new car, right? Brand new car smell. They love it and stuff like that. And after you had a car for a while, you're ready to get another one, right? But then there's such a thing as, the car's working great. You're used to the car. You love the car. It's doing everything you need a car to do. Why would you trade it in? There's so many problems you could have with a new car. There's recalls. There's massive failures on some vehicles. And that's the same thing in a relationship. A tried relationship that when they know the downsides to you, the negatives in general, that's not necessarily a bad thing. They know it and they still love you. This person over here is going to go through the same revelations. They're going to find out that, yeah, boy, he doesn't shower when he comes home from the gym. And he'll wait a couple days. Or, I've never seen him trim his toenails. And they're getting to look a little like Howard Hughes with the long, dirty nails and things like that. Or that you can't really hide that, right, on your hands, but you could do that on your toes. So we got to be careful about the new relationship versus the current relationship. The current relationship has a hard time competing against the new relationship. And we may attribute stronger feelings to the new relationship. But what we're just attributing to it is a lack of knowledge. We have a lack of knowledge of who that person is. They have a lack of knowledge of who you are. And there's only feeling, lust, and desire. Where the old relationship, you have knowledge, loyalty, and history. And there should be some passion if you think about it. If you really think about it and look at it, that's pretty exciting. That if someone knows you and they're still with you, and you review that and you go, wow, I'm really lucked out. This person's still with me. Well, that's all I have to say right now for that. I'm going to finish up with that frozen drink. If you're making a frozen drink, remember this. The most important thing, when you put your liquid in, you want to have 1/3 more ice than you have liquid. You want to have a strong blender when you're doing it. And you should put, instead of putting more liquor in it, you should put more syrup in it and stuff like that. And then you blend it up. That's the secret. This is Jim the Keys bartender. I know I'm ending it real quick, but thank you for listening. Bye.